Good morning. Welcome to our worship service at Harrow United Church. This morning, with the assistance of members of the branch of 338 of the Royal Canadian Legion, we are having a Remembrance Sunday service. And we welcome each one of you here this morning, and we're so pleased to see so many members from the Legion here with us. And we also encourage you to attend Remembrance Day ceremonies on November the 11th, this week, and it will be in the parkette beside the post office, right? Okay. Many people are not able to be with us in person, as we are with us virtually via our YouTube videos. However, you were able to join us, and we are glad you are here. We have set up a special mail address, virtually in harrow@gmail.com, for those who join us through YouTube. In case you'd like to offer your comments, concerns, or prayer requests, Reverend Darrell is the only person who can access this email. Although we are not able this year to have a pie tent at the Harrow Fair, our pie crew has been very busy all year, and we have sold pies through Lee and Maria's in Kingsville and at Uptown Meats and Deli in Harrow, as well as the occasional drive-through pie sale here at the church. This year, we sold 1,207 pies and raised over $13,000 for the work of the congregation. We are very grateful to our pie crew, who have worked hard, kept safe, and have had fun. And this morning, the Turkey Committee, as we had our turkey dinner yesterday, wish to thank all those who helped to have another successful turkey dinner. We were blessed with beautiful weather, sold out tickets, and lots of help, and we have food left over. So there will be some food for sale downstairs. If you wish to get any, go downstairs after church this morning.
So just checking in, who here is on the Turkey Committee? We should give a round of applause to all the turkeys. I had a small part in yesterday. I got to do some of the deliveries. So I had the fun job of seeing people's happy faces as I'm bringing all that delicious food to their door. It was quite delightful, and everybody that I talked to enjoyed the meal. We certainly did. Well, we enjoyed the first half. I think the second half we're having for lunch today. There's a lot to go around. Jesus came into the world amongst people like us. Jesus shone a light of hope, a light of love. That light still has the power to draw us closer to God. We light this candle now as a sign that God is with us. One of our customs here as we begin worship is I ring a prayer bowl, and it marks the beginning and the end of a moment of silence where we're just letting ourselves settle down, body, mind, and spirit, and open ourselves to the wonderful possibility, the wonderful assurance that God is right here with us. After I ring the bowl the first time, I invite you to take 3 intentional, slow breaths in and out, and just let yourself settle in. God is with us. We are not alone. And thanks be to God. The land that we live on has been witness to countless conflicts between nations over thousands of years. Before this land was claimed and settled by people from Europe, there were nations that lived here. When the new nation of Canada emerged in history, many First Nations people served with distinction in our military and continue to. Many made the ultimate sacrifice. Sadly, there are terrible stories about those First Nations people who came home after their time of service and still faced discrimination and were denied the rights, benefits, and dignity afforded to their comrades. The land that we are on is traditional territory of the Odawa, the Chippewa, the Potawatomi, and Caldwell nations of the Three Fires Confederacy and of the Huron-Wyandot Nation. Let's open our hearts for prayer. God is with us in our proud and noble moments. God is with us in our sad and desperate times. God knows both the good and the evil of which we are capable. God hears our prayers of thanks and our cries for help. God always loves us. God loves us when we're at our best, and God loves us when we're at our worst. And God will always be with us, and so we give our thanks and praise to God.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. I've got two arms here.
Yeah, give me a second.
I'll get two and I'll be happy. I have been reading In Flanders Fields for approximately 50 years. When I first read this poem, I was a young man and I hadn't thought an awful lot about sacrifice. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. During the war, I worked in the little 30-bed hospital in Penfield Ridge, New Brunswick. We served the Operational Training Unit number 34 of the RAF. Loved and were loved, but now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. I like reading this poem because I think it helps other youngsters who are looking for something to say would be good in life. I say, well, there's one good man that I'd like to follow. It is yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Money is part of our lives. How we use money is also part of how we are faithful and how we manage our lives in ways that are positive and life-giving. We give time, energy, good ideas, talents, and financial resources to the church, and we do our best to put them to good use to help other people. We are grateful for all the help we get. Let us pray. Dear God, you give us so much, and we are grateful. We are so blessed. You open our hearts and minds to see where help is needed. We are blessed to be able to give. We pray that what we offer will make a difference and be a blessing to others. We pray as followers of Jesus. Amen. This morning, our Bible reading is taken from Joshua chapter 24, verses 15 to 24 from the Inclusive Bible. Excuse me. Joshua said, I now call upon you to revere and serve Yahweh completely and sincerely. Cast off the gods that your ancestors worshipped beyond the Euphrates and in Egypt, and worship Yahweh alone. If you do not want to worship Yahweh, then make the decision today whom you will worship, even if it is the gods of your ancestors beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in whose country you live. As for me and my household, we will worship Yahweh. Then the people responded, Far be it from us to abandon Yahweh to worship other gods. It was Yahweh, our God, who brought us and our ancestors up and out of the land of slavery. Yahweh performed those great signs before our eyes. Yahweh protected us on the entire journey and among all the peoples whose lands we passed through. Yahweh drove out before us the Amorites and all the people dwelling in the land. We too will serve Yahweh, who is our God. And Joshua said to the people, You will not be able to serve Yahweh. This is a God most holy, a jealous God, a God who doesn't forgive your transgressions and your sins. If you desert Yahweh and serve foreign gods, after all God has done for you, you will bring disasters, fatal ones, upon yourselves. But the people protested, No, we will serve Yahweh. And then Joshua said, You are your own witnesses that you are choosing to serve Yahweh. Yes, we are witnesses, they replied. Now then, said Joshua, throw away the alien gods among you and turn your hearts to Yahweh, the God of Israel. Then the assembly said to Joshua, We will serve and obey Yahweh, our God. And our second reading is taken from Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 12, verses 9 to 21. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, and share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn, and live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
It seems like every time it's Eleanor's turn to read, there's paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. But she does a good job, doesn't she? We have to encourage her, or else next time she'll say, No, I'm not doing it. Thank you, Eleanor.
You're welcome.
So when I was little, seeing the flags and seeing the people from the Legion dressed for Remembrance Day, that was a normal part of my life. My dad was in the RCAF when my parents got married. He was stationed at Borden when I was born. And he trained as a leading air mechanic with a transport squadron. And he was part of an air crew that flew supply missions all over the world. And he doesn't tell this story. I got a little bit out of it one time, that he was in the aircraft when the transport plane crash landed in the Mediterranean. And he just doesn't talk about that. I remember when Remembrance Day was a day off of school. It isn't that anymore, is it? But in our household, that day off of school did not mean a day to laze around, to sleep in. Growing up, we spent every November 11th at a cenotaph somewhere, because my folks, my mom and dad, were both in the Legion Color Party. And I grew up in Thunder Bay, so usually Remembrance Day was some combination of cold, wet, windy, rainy, possibly snowy. But even so, we were there. And we were taught from a young age just how important it was to be there and to remember. So I was honored to be invited to take on the role of branch chaplain here in Harrow. So as part of joining the Legion, I took the oath of allegiance to the sovereign. And Brian led us new members through the oath. And as he's saying the words and we're repeating them back to him, I like that we didn't have to memorize it. Thank you for that, Brian. But as he's saying these words, I realized that I had not been asked to make such a commitment since I was a wolf cub in the church hall at Knox United in Thunder Bay. And I know it's changed over the years, but what I remember from 50 years ago was putting my hands up like this and saying, Kayla, I promise to do my best, to do my duty to God and the Queen. And I was thinking about that. Actually, that was on my mind when you were giving us the words of the oath. I almost said that instead. I realized that those words that are like they're burned in me. They're carved on my heart. That's essentially, not the same words, but it's essentially what we ask of those who serve on our behalf. That they'll do their best, that they'll act honorably, and they will represent the highest ideals of our country. In the short history of this nation, and in the longer history of humans on earth, our young and sometimes not so young, our bravest, our strongest, our most willing to serve, have been asked to fulfill many difficult missions, to go into terrible situations where they've witnessed and sometimes had to do simply awful things. Our political leaders send members of our military to places where they may die, and sometimes where they see and do things that may be worse than dying. I'm going to tell you a story that I told last year at the Remembrance Service at the Parquet. This is from my family. So Thanksgiving weekend a year ago now, a young man named Kevin, who served with distinction in Afghanistan, he died. He completed suicide 6 years after his time in Afghanistan. I don't know what he witnessed or what he was required to do while he was there. I do know from talking with his first ex-wife, who is my cousin, that something happened. Probably more than one something happened while he was in Afghanistan. It broke him. And he never really healed. So my perspective is that Kevin gave his life. Not in one bloody, awful moment, but over time. Kevin needed help when he got back, and he never really got the support he needed and deserved. I remember a time when he reached out to me through Facebook. And at the time he was living near Toronto, so I have one of my oldest friends is an Armed Forces chaplain, so I connected them, and I never knew what came out of that conversation. But he didn't get all that he needed and he deserved. His living and his slow dying became unbearable, and he chose to end it. I do know that before he made that choice, there was enough hurt and pain enough to go around that touched every person in his life. So he leaves behind 2 ex-wives and a young child who is too young to actually have memories of their father. The pain and that sacrifice has ended for Kevin, but it continues for so many others. So I think when we ask the members of our military to give their lives all at once or a chunk at a time, we need to be sure of what we're asking. We need to be able to know for sure, or as best we can, will this mission truly serve the common good? Will it make the world even a little bit better than it was? Those who wear the uniform and who serve their country are called upon to do incredibly difficult things. I have nothing but respect and admiration for those who serve and who have served, for their families and loved ones. They all make sacrifices. We know there's brokenness and there's evil in our world. People commit atrocities. Governments, corporations, powerful people are capable of manipulations that turn ordinary people like us against each other. People hurt each other. Sometimes, on the surface, the conflicts seem to be about religious differences or ethnic rivalries, and there's some truth to that. But dig down underneath the surface. In reality, most of these conflicts are actually about territory, money, or power. People are whipped up into frenzies by those who have something to gain. In many conflicts around the world, both sides use weapons and ammunition that came from the same factories. They were sold and delivered by the same arms dealers. But those aren't the only weapons at work in the world. There are other weapons used to create division, to stir up conflicts that lead to the point where our military has to become involved. And we see these weapons at work every day. On the international level, but also in our own communities, our neighborhoods, even amongst our families and friends. You can usually see and hear these weapons of manipulation at work when an appeal is made to our pride, to our self-centeredness, to our sense of entitlement, to our fear of change, and to our preference for quick and simple solutions to problems that are really complex and don't actually have simple answers. When Eleanor read to us from Joshua the prophet was warning his people against idolatry, which is following false gods, placing your faith, your hope, your trust in something that is just crap. It's a big old lie to make you do the wrong thing. There are lots of false gods in our world, lots of false idols that people turn to. Our world has a lot of them. I'm going to name a few that I've noticed. The tricky thing about these false gods is that they're often disguised as something that we think is good, that has some value in it. But when this thing is taken to an extreme, it causes incredible harm. Here's one: patriotism. Nothing wrong with patriotism, nothing wrong with being proud of your country, loving your country, being willing to serve your country. But blind patriotism that says our country is the best and it's just for us can be used to lead people astray. Consumerism. We all like new stuff. Christmas is coming. We all have our lists of what we want. But to want more and more stuff and not care how it gets to us, and not care what the real costs of that gets dangerous. Here's a big word: xenophobia. Do you know what that word means? Xeno means strange or different. Phobia means fear. So xenophobia is the fear of things that are different. When we were cave people, that made good sense, because the strange or different thing that might be coming at us could be dangerous. But the world we live in, we need to celebrate difference and diversity, because we live in a world where we get to see it all the time. And if we're stuck in our fear of what's different, we miss a lot. Related to that is a word you do know, which is racism, which basically says people who aren't like me aren't as good as me, and they scare me. Here's some other words you know: sexism or homophobia. That's where we decide somehow that people, their value depends on their sexual identity. And we get to say which sexual identities are okay and which ones aren't. Here's another one: elitism. That because I'm me and I have privilege, I'm an educated, middle-class white guy living in a middle-class country, that what I think and what I say and what I want is more important than what other people think or say or want. I want what I want, and I want what I think to be taken seriously. I get to stand up here and talk to you. But if I ever think that what I have to say is absolutely right and no one else gets to talk, we can't talk right now. But if I ever become convinced that my opinions, my thoughts, my way of seeing the world is the only way, then I become the problem. Here's another one, and this one's especially slippery. Radical individualism. And we saw a lot of that this fall during election time. Radical individualism that says, you can't tell me what to do. I have rights, you know. In fact, my rights are probably more important than the needs of other people. I'm just going to do what I want. Don't mess with me. And I don't have to do anything for anybody else. I'm only in it for myself. Well, yeah, I want your rights and my rights to be protected, of course. But when it becomes at the expense of the needs of other people, we have a problem. That one's kind of slippery. You could probably think of more ways that we get subtly or not so subtly manipulated and riled up to follow some false idol, to get all excited about that. Usually, when that's going on, people are appealing to our fears, our deep worries, our impatience, and often our lack of good information. And this stuff, this way of being manipulated, it works on everybody. There's no vaccine for this one. None of us are immune. We can all get turned, manipulated, convinced of something that's on the surface makes sense, but played out can cause a lot of harm. Works on me, works on you, works on the people we elect, the ones that we trust to make decisions on our behalf. Brian, I'm not forgetting that I took an oath to the sovereign. And the fine print in that oath was that I also promised that I'm not a member of any, what was it? Subversive organizations? Yeah. Subversive action, that I'm not working actively against our country or against our government. I like to think of myself, and this is a great British term, the loyal opposition. That you can take an oath to the sovereign. You can have allegiance to your country and stand for the country's highest values and still have some questions. I think, is that still within the oath? Am I okay? I'm checking, Brian. If I'm not, then, you may not want to install me as the chaplain. Because we're all susceptible to that kind of manipulation. And the more power we have, the more dangerous it is if we're getting manipulated. We gotta keep our eyes open. So 2 of my uncles, my father, one of my grandfathers, all served. I learned from them that those in uniform are trained to rely upon each other, to have each other's backs, to look out for each other. I think we have to make sure that while those who serve in uniform are out there keeping watch for us, that we have to have their backs. We have to watch out for them. We have to keep an eye on those who have the authority to send troops into harm's way, to make sure that when that happens, that it's happening for the right reasons. We also have to make sure that while they serve and after they come home, that the members of our military know we still have their backs and that we'll be there to help them, and that help will come in meaningful ways. Amen.
A giant C-17 transport aircraft makes a low fly past over RAF Lynham in Wiltshire. It's a mark of respect, a small gesture to remember a man killed in the service of his country. No family wants to see their son, brother or father return home like this. Captain John McDermott, who came from Glasgow, has paid the ultimate sacrifice. Now he's going to...
Under the big lights, shadows stretching long, the ramp is lowered gently to the tarmac, and all of us we wait in the sea of gravity for the precious cargo to appear. And here come the dead boys moving slowly past, the pipes and prayers and strained commanding voices, and the tears in our hearts make an ocean we're all in this together, don't you know? You can die on your sofa, safe inside your home, or die in a mess of flame and shrapnel. We all in our time go, you know you're not alone. You're in the hearts of everybody here. Each one lost is everyone's lost, you see. Each one lost is a vital part of you and me. must bow in bondage to their dreams of little gods who lay down laws to live by. But all these inventions arise from fear of love and open-hearted tolerance and trust. Well, screw the rule of law, we want the rule of love, enough to fight and die to keep it coming. If that sounds like confusion, brother, think again. We know exactly what we chose. Each one lost is everyone's loss, you see. Each one lost is a vital part of you and me. Each one lost is everyone's loss, you see.
Hard to speak after such touching words and sights. But we, as members of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 338 in Harrow, take very seriously our dedication to serve our veterans who have returned, the widows and orphans, and our community. We are but frail individuals who do what we can to serve each other in love. On this day, comrades and citizens, it brings a great joy to my heart to present to you our newly selected candidate for chaplain for Branch 338 and his installation as chaplain. And to be part of that, I'm truly honored to have our most senior active member, Comrade Bill Shea, will take part in this installation with the presenting of his stole. Reverend Darrell, would you come forward? Bill, could you come forward? Where's your stole? Oh, there it is. Comrade Darrell, the branch has been pleased to select you to the position of chaplain. We thank you and the members of your church who have agreed to allow you to share your ministry, not only in this church, but outside the doors in our community. And you dedicate yourself to assist the Legion in our ideals. You will, I know, bring dignity and respect to your office. You should keep in touch with the president and other officers and should attend meetings of the branch whenever possible, even recognizing we know you have a very busy schedule. We thank you for any time you can provide. You should be ready to take your part in dedication memorials, and funeral services, we entrust you with the spiritual well-being of our branch, our members, and our community. On behalf of Branch 338, I now declare you duly installed as chaplain of our branch number 338. And you will get used to some of our veterans calling you Padre, which is a great honor indeed. You can place the poppy.
So, in normal years, do you remember back when things were normal? As part of our Remembrance Sunday service, we would have Bill standing up here as members of the congregation came forward and put their poppies on the cross. We're not able to do it quite that way, so I've asked Bill to put a poppy on the cross on behalf of the Legion and on behalf of all of you. Thank you, Bill.
Our honored dead, 1914 to 1918, World War I. Robert Bailey, John Baxter, Frederick Cooksey, Charles Cornwall, Eli Gerard, Cameron Hauser, Robert Martin, A. Mickle, or A. Murray, and W. Mickle. 1939 to 1945, World War II. Leonard Andrew, Ross Baltzer, Albert Burling, Ernest Seifrey, Charles Darby, Henry Craig, Albert Day, Anthony DeVerker, Stuart Alfred, Francis Hicks, Ray McCarthy, Eugene McCollum, James Monk, Clifford Robertson, Andrew Stefanoff, and Max Wright.
Let's open our hearts for prayer. God of all of us, help us to remember who you are and who we are meant to be. Help us to love others and to see the good in others. Help us to resist the temptation to label other people and nations and to see them only as problems to overcome and enemies to be vanquished. May we remember the costs incurred when we rely on human solutions. Help us to work for peace in the world. Amen. I'd ask you now, as you're able to please stand. Eternal rest grant upon them, O God, and may perpetual light shine upon them. May their souls, through your mercy, rest in peace. Before I offer a commissioning and blessing to bring the service to a close, and then the color party will be piped out, I just want to say thank you to all those who took part in the service today. Well done. Jesus challenges us to love not just our friends, but also our enemies. Jesus calls us to live beyond our own ego, our own biases, and our own fears. This is a holy calling to be peacemakers. We cannot possibly do that on our own. We need God's help. We pray together seeking the strength, the peace, and the blessing of God. And we give thanks for all the ways we are blessed. Amen.